Welcome Facebook Live, Elyse Southwell here at Nasdaq market site for Nasdaq Disruptors. Today we're talking about an issue that affects everyone connected to the web, passwords and password technology. We're here with Emmanuel Schalit, CEO of Dashlane, and he's going to talk to us about some really important password concerns, challenges, and tell us all about what Dashlane does. Thanks for being here, Emmanuel.
Thanks for having me on the show.
So what's Dashlane?
At Dashlane, we help consumers and businesses with their digital identity and, more simply said, with their passwords, which, as you said, everybody needs. 2.5 to 3 billion people today need passwords every day.
So everyone that's connected to the web has a password. What are the most common mistakes?
So the most common mistake is to reuse the same password everywhere. And it's the most common mistake because, as you've heard, oftentimes hundreds of millions of passwords are stolen, and they're stolen for a reason, which is if you use the same everywhere, you steal it somewhere, you reuse it somewhere else.
Do you know how many passwords the average American has?
Yes, today the average consumer in developed countries, including the US, has between 130 and 150 different passwords, which is a lot, and it's doubling every 5 years.
And how about what are the most popular ones?
Sadly, the most popular ones are password and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's been the case for the last 10 years, and it's not getting better.
Really? It's password, 1, 2.
Password and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, by far.
So a lot of people think that getting hacked is never going to happen to them, which obviously we see time and time again in the news that that's not the case. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
So obviously it's hard to get solid facts about it, but consider this. Consider that with the few large breaches we have seen in the last few weeks, more than 1 billion people got their passwords stolen through what happened to Yahoo and what happened also to MySpace and a number of other places. So it means that most of us, we have our passwords that have been stolen by hackers and are now for sale on the dark web. And so it means in practice that if somebody wants to hack us today, for a few dollars, they can get our passwords and get into all of our accounts. And that's why you have millions of people every year that get their identity stolen or their financial information stolen.
I actually didn't know that. I don't know. Can you talk about the dark web and they sell your passwords? I don't know if our users, our viewers out there would know that.
Yes, essentially what hackers do is they go after very large databases of identity data, including passwords, hundreds of millions of them, and they put that out there for sale because some other people are going to be able to use that information to make money out of it. They do that with passwords, they do that with credit cards, and they do that with lots of other identity data.
So you can log on to the dark web and you can access is it like an eBay-like sort of thing? You're bidding on these passwords, or a shopping website, you're just buying a few passwords?
Well, you're buying, but not a few. You can buy a database with 500 million passwords that was recently stolen from either a Yahoo or a LinkedIn or many others.
Are you able to see whose passwords they are?
Of course.
Wow.
You have the email and the password, and that's it.
Wow.
So if you use the same one for, let's say, your Yahoo account and your bank account, or your game over. It's like, think about it this way. It's like if you made hundreds of copies of your house keys, and you just gave them to the first stranger that you meet. And there are now millions of copies that are just given out for sale for anyone to buy them.
I think a lot of people, they don't understand how they're innocently making a username and a password.
Yes, they are. And they are because when you consider the problem now that, as you said, most Americans have 100, 150 accounts and therefore passwords to manage, doing it by hand is too hard. That's why people use password and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But that's also why we exist, because we've taken that problem and turned it into a much simpler problem, which is you have only one password, which is the one that gives you access to Dashlane, and all of the other passwords. They are completely random and completely unique for each and every website. That is the key. You ask me what the most common mistake is, it's to have the same password everywhere. The only fix is to have a different password for each website, which is what we are in the business of providing consumers and businesses.
So you started Dashlane in France, and then in 2011 you moved the organization to New York. Why did you come to New York?
So we built the initial technology in France because there's a lot of great engineering talent there. But from day one, we wanted to launch in the US. We raised our first round of capital here in New York. We launched our product from New York, and today half of our team is in New York. Why the US and why New York? The size of the market, the availability of capital that is not risk adverse, and it's my favorite city in the world.
In 2015, Microsoft and Apple allowed iPhone users to store passwords on the mobile device. Was this a good thing, a convenience thing, in your opinion?
It was aimed at being a convenience thing. The problem is that identity is something that is not just on one device. You use it on your phone, you need it on your tablet, you need it on your computer at home and at work. And so their solution never really addressed the problem because it was only on your phone. And what we bring, and it's one of the reasons of our success, is Dashlane is there on each and every of your devices, your phone, your tablet, your computer at home, your computer at work. Because if you're going to have different passwords everywhere, they need to be available seamlessly across all those devices. So it was a good idea to do it on the phone, but it doesn't really solve the problem. That's why we exist.
Managing, obviously, all of these passwords is not only, time-consuming and it's stressful. Obviously, we touched on the safety element. Aside from people buying your password at random on the dark web, what can happen? What are like the worst-case scenarios?
Well, I mean, they can go really far. Consider this. Today, or let's say by 2020, you're going to have 25 billion IoT devices connected to the internet that, by the way, are all controlled by an email and a password. These devices are going to be, your car, a camera in your home, your microwave, your fridge. Think about the consequences of a stranger with nefarious intentions accessing those devices that are right in your home. 5 years ago, security was about protecting your computer against spam, against viruses. But the threat has moved away from that. The threat is now those hundreds of cloud accounts that you have and the devices they control. And the only barrier between you and those people that could want to get into your home are your passwords.
In 2025, you're saying? Is that what you said?
By 2020, you're going to have 25 billion devices connected to the internet. And those devices are right into your home. They collect terabytes of data every day, video, sound, the most intimate things.
And someone could buy your password to your house?
Of course.
Shocking.
So it's time for consumers and businesses to start taking it seriously.
And there's obviously a generational shift that's happening. I guess the education has to be also to sort of maybe the retiree generation that they don't they understand.
So you're raising a very interesting point. The average age of a Dashlane user is about 50 to 52 years old. What we have found through research, working with our users, is that in fact the younger generation is much less aware of the risks. Maybe because they were born with the internet, they essentially consider that nothing wrong can happen to them. As people get older, they have more things to protect. They become more risk adverse, and they actually pay more attention to these things. So for me, the real challenge is how do we help the younger generations, the millennials, realize that yes, the internet is great, you can do many things, but it's about to become a really dangerous place if you don't pay attention.
So congrats on having
Thank you.
3 million users.
It's actually 6.
6 million?
Yes.
Oh my gosh, you jumped so much since the last time I read.
Yes.
So congrats on 6 million users. I heard that when you hit 1 million users, you got a tattoo to celebrate. Can you tell us about that?
Yes, I'm not going to show it on TV, but indeed I tattooed. It was the stupid bets you do at these startups. I say, there's no way we're going to get there anytime soon. We did. I made that bet. I had to go get a tattoo, which was actually much less painful than I thought. So much so that I said, well, when we get to 10 million, I'm going to get a second tattoo, and 100 million, I'm going to get a third tattoo, and then I retire.
Are you really going to get the second and the third tattoo?
We actually, in our office, we have a clock that counts down to 10 million and that predicts the date at which I'm getting my second tattoo. And right now, it's pointing to November 9th next year. So in less than a year, I'm getting my second tattoo.
Did it hurt?
No, not at all.
Okay. So it sounds like you cracked the code on password technology, how people need it. What do you think is the future for internet security?
So you're right that it all starts with password because that's the most obvious problem. But we also work a lot with bank and payment networks around payments, because at the end of the day, this is all the same thing. It's about this identity information that you constantly need every time you do something in the digital world. So we are working on not just solving the problem of password, but how can you more securely and more seamlessly make payments? How can you more securely and more seamlessly do all of these transactions where you need your name, your address, your phone number, your credit card? And actually, to date, people don't just use us for password. Our users have used Dashlane to do more than $8 billion of checkout transactions on e-commerce websites. So that's also the future. It's the entire gamut of digital identity. How can we make it simpler and more secure?
You know what I love about Dashlane, I think our viewers would like to know as well, is that you can go on Dashlane and you can check your security, right?
Yes.
How safe your stuff is. So for everybody that's not a user, they can go and they could do a little test. Could tell us how that works?
Well, essentially, we are able to, with your authorization, of course, to look at the passwords you currently have, because most of the time they're going to be stored in your browser, which, by the way, is not safe at all. And most of the time, what we're going to find is you tend to reuse the same password. So we show you all of these sites where you use the same password, and then we allow you to very, very simply go and change them. In fact, we have a tool where you can ask Dashlane to go and change them for you, and in a few seconds, we've sort of magically changed your passwords on all these sites so that they are now unique and completely random.
Can I ask you if anybody's nervous allowing Dashlane to select passwords for them?
Initially, but then people realize that at the end of the day, the future towards, it's like Back to the Future. Where we are going, we don't need roads. Well, where we are going, we don't need passwords. It doesn't mean passwords have gone away. It means as a human, you won't have to manage them anymore. You're going to use tools like us who constantly change those passwords, and you'll only have to know one, which is the one that accesses the product that does that.
Emmanuel, what keeps you up at night?
How can we go faster in the education? How can we make people realize that using password or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 everywhere is a bad idea? And it's about us, it's about governments, it's about the media and what you're doing right now. Telling people that A, it's a bad idea, and B, there are very simple solutions that anyone can use.
So we're on air, we're live. What could you tell anybody on the education front? Anything that we didn't cover? That just how important this really is.
Again, think about the fact that in your home, in your car, at work, there are now devices that collect tremendous amount of data about you, and the only thing that protects that data from people exploiting it is a password or a set of passwords. So the consequences of not paying attention are going to become obvious very, very quickly if people actually don't pay more attention.
You have so much passion for this. And
I do.
And you know what else I love about you? I love that you said you're trying to fit 7 lifetimes into one. What do you do for fun?
The first thing I do for fun is my job. I have never had as much fun running a company as I have today, because I work with an incredible team, and the one thing we have every day is fun. But I have a passion for music. I play the piano. I have a passion for sport, sailing and cycling, and most of the fun I have is also from my family and my wife and son and soon daughter to come. So life is way too short, but I intend to make the best of it.
That's so wonderful, and congratulations on the daughter
Thank you.
to come. So let's ask you about your culture. How is the culture at Dashlane?
We have 7 values that define our internal culture. I'll name a few of them, but the ones that are the most important to me are things like transparency. Everyone at Dashlane can see everything that's going on, the good and the bad. And it's great, but there's also a price to pay, which is when things are not good, you see it. Another one is no politics. I have 0 tolerance for it. That's why I do what I do, and I don't do other things that are more political. And so no politics means that the number one priority of everyone is the success of the team, not their individual success. There is another one that I can't name because it wouldn't be proper on TV, but that is about raising the bar in a very, very high way. And there is another one which is team first, which means that we place the well-being of our team are really high, because we know that people that are happy perform at their best.
Nasdaq's culture is about ambition, is about
It's part
entrepreneurship.
of our 7 values.
I can tell. Entrepreneurship. Do you have any advice for entrepreneurs, CEOs out there?
I have 2. The first one is never take anybody's advice at face value, because every situation is unique. So it's about reinterpreting other people's advice. And the second one is to, as an entrepreneur, you need to have the ability to, you need to be schizophrenic, in the sense that you need to be able to both focus on the long-term vision and constantly keeping sight of that goal, and it can't change, but also what tactically short-term you have to do to get there, which may seem like you're not going in the right direction, but in fact you are. So it's about having that double vision of the long-term and the short-term at the same time.
That's why you're the CEO.
Maybe, we'll see.
Emmanuel, thank you so much for
Thank
being
you, it was
here.
a pleasure.
Thank you all for watching. I'm Elyse Southwell with Nasdaq Disruptors. Have a great day.